I remember that night like a bruise that never truly fades. The diner smelled of burnt coffee and old memories, the kind that cling to your apron long after your shift ends. It was almost closing time, the neon sign outside flickering like it was tired of pretending to be alive. My feet hurt, my back hurt, and honestly, my heart hurt the most, but I kept smiling. That's what waitresses do. We smile even when the world squeezes us from every direction. A bell chimed as the door opened, and a group of 4 men stumbled in, loud and already halfway drunk. I didn't recognize them, but the way they carried themselves, careless, loud, entitled, told me they weren't here for food. "Hey, sweetheart," one of them called, slapping the counter loudly. "We need a table, preferably with a view of you." I forced a small laugh. "Right this way." I seated them in booth 4, the one closest to the window and farthest from my boss's eyes. I wish I hadn't. Before I could even hand them menus, one of them, the tallest, wearing an expensive-looking jacket, leaned back and whistled. "You got a boyfriend, doll?" "No, sir, and I'm just here to take your orders." "Oh," another mocked. "She's got an attitude." I swallowed hard and kept my voice steady. "Coffee, water, anything to start." They snickered, exchanged looks, and finally told me their orders. I walked away as fast as I could, but their whispers trailed behind me like sticky fingers. "She's kinda pretty when she's scared. Bet she cries easy. Probably desperate for tips." Their laughter echoed in my head. I wanted to disappear. But at the far corner of the diner, quietly reading a newspaper, sat a man I hadn't paid much attention to earlier, cleanshaven.com, wearing a simple dark hoodie, barely noticeable. He looked up at me for a moment. Just a moment. His eyes were gentle, studying, almost concerned. I didn't know then that he was the one who would change everything. By the time I returned with their drinks, the men were rowdier. About time, one of them scoffed. "What are you, slow or stupid?" Inside, I flinched. Outside, I smiled. But when I set a cup down, the tall one grabbed my wrist, tight, fingers digging into my skin. "Hey," he smirked, "look at me when I'm talking to you." I tugged, scared. "Sir, please let go." He squeezed harder. "Or what?" he hissed. My throat tightened. I could feel my eyes burn. Then another man laughed. "She's shaking. She loves it." "No, I don't," I said, my voice breaking without my permission. The tall one leaned in, breath hot with alcohol. "Relax, sweetheart. Don't make a scene." The other customers turned away. People always turned away, except him, the quiet man in the hoodie. His newspaper was folded now. His eyes were on us, but he didn't move. Not yet. I finally pulled free and stumbled back, my chest tight. They laughed like it was all a joke. I tried to steady my breathing. I tried to keep working, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking as I filled another coffee pot. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. When I returned to their booth with their orders, the tall one kicked the edge of the seat hard, catching me off guard. I lost my balance and the tray tilted, plates wobbling. Careful, he mocked. You mess up my food, and you'll pay for it. The laughter that followed made my stomach twist. I felt tears forming. Please, I whispered, don't do that. He kicked again, intentionally this time, and I fell to one knee, catching myself against the table. Please don't kick me, I said, voice trembling. I'm already broken. The words fell out before I could stop them. Raw, true, humiliating. The diner went silent. Even the men froze for a second, surprised by how fragile I sounded. And in that heavy quiet, the man in the hoodie finally stood, calm, steady, quiet like a storm, deciding to walk instead of roar. He approached the booth slowly. Is there a problem here? He asked softly. The tall man scoffed. Who the hell are you? This ain't your business. The hooded man didn't flinch. It is now. I shook my head quickly. Sir, please. It's okay. I don't want trouble. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at them. You shouldn't treat people like that, he said, voice low but firm, especially someone who's working at midnight to serve you. The tall man stood, puffing his chest. Dude, mind your own business. The hooded man slid his hands into his pockets casually. You got a death wish. The drunk man growled, a faint smile curved on the stranger's lips. No, but you're about to get a reality check. The table went silent. One of the men snickered. Bro, relax. We're just having fun. The hooded man's jaw tightened. Harassment isn't fun. The tall one shoved him hard, but the hooded man didn't budge, not even an inch. That's when I realized he wasn't some average customer. He moved forward, voice quiet, but sharp enough to slice air. Sit down, he ordered, and shockingly, the tall guy did. The others stared, confused, intimidated by something they didn't understand. The stranger leaned in just slightly. You don't want to know who I am, he said, but you do want to leave. Now, the men scrambled, muttering, grabbing their jackets, stumbling out without looking back. The door slammed behind them, and then silence. My breath caught somewhere between relief and disbelief. The hooded man turned to me. Are you all right? He asked, voice soft again. I nodded, but tears spilled anyway. I hated that crying in front of him. He gently handed me a napkin. Take your time. You don't have to be strong right now. Something in my chest cracked, but not in a painful way, more like a pressure releasing. And then my manager stormed in from the back. What's going on out here? Why did those customers leave? Before I could answer, the hooded man turned toward him. They were harassing your staff, he said simply. You should be paying attention. My manager frowned. Who are you? The police? The hooded man smiled, and for the first time, I saw something else behind that smile. Authority, power, control, double quotes. No, he said. I'm the person who owns this restaurant chain. My heart stopped, my manager's face drained of color. I stared at him, the calm man in the hoodie, realizing the truth all at once. He wasn't just some customer, he was the undercover CEO, and he had seen everything. For a full 3 seconds, nobody breathed. My manager blinked, swallowed, then tried to laugh, the kind of nervous laugh people use when they realize they've just stepped into a grave they dug themselves. "Sir, you must be mistaken," he stammered. "This location belongs to..." The hooded man cut him off with a gentle raise of his hand. "You report to my regional director," he said calmly. "But he reports to me." My throat tightened. This man, this quiet stranger, had watched everything. Every insult I swallowed, every tear I fought, every humiliation I endured, and now he knew. He turned back to me, the tension in his shoulders softening. "Can we talk somewhere quieter?" I nodded numbly and led him to a small booth near the back, the one employees usually use during breaks. My hands shook as I set a glass of water in front of him, though he hadn't asked for anything. He didn't touch it. Instead, he looked at my wrist, the one that had been grabbed. "May I?" he asked. I hesitated, then slowly extended it. His fingers were warm as he gently inspected the faint red marks left by the drunk man's grip. His eyes darkened, not with anger, with something heavier, something protective. "I'm sorry this happened to you," he said. "And I'm sorry it wasn't the first time." My breath hitched. How did he know? Maybe because I didn't deny it. He leaned back, exhaling slowly. "I come unannounced to different locations. I want to see how things are really run. But tonight..." His jaw tightened. "Tonight, I wish I had stepped in sooner." I felt a sting behind my eyes again. "It's okay," I whispered. "I'm used to it." He shook his head firmly. "You shouldn't be." My manager hovered nearby, pretending to clean a perfectly clean table. The CEO stood abruptly and motioned him over. "What's your name?" the CEO asked. "Michael, sir. And how long have you been ignoring harassment in your restaurant?" "Michael." My manager paled. "Sir, I didn't know you weren't paying attention," the CEO cut in. "Your employee begged those men to stop. She nearly fell when one kicked her, and you didn't even come out." His voice stayed calm, but the calmness itself was thunder. I'll do better." "No," the CEO said simply. "You won't." My heart stopped. Was he firing him? Was I next? Michael's voice trembled. "Esther, please, you can collect your final paycheck tomorrow." The manager deflated like a punctured balloon and walked into the back, defeated. I stared at the CEO. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," he said. "I did." His voice softened again when he turned back to me. "You deserve a safe place to work. Basic respect isn't optional." Something warm spread through my chest, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Safety, validation, a reminder that I mattered. He gestured for me to sit again. "What's your name?" "Lila. Lila," he repeated gently. "Tell me honestly. Why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you call for help?" I looked down at my apron. "Because..." My voice cracked. "Because people think waitresses should just take it. Smile even when they're breaking inside." His expression softened. "No one should have to hide their pain like that." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to ask the question burning in my mind. "Are you?" Going to fire me too? His eyebrows lowered. Why would you think that? Because I made a scene, I whispered, and customers left. He leaned forward. You didn't make a scene. You were hurt, and you were brave enough to endure it. I blinked quickly, trying to hold myself together. Then something even more shocking happened. He stood up, removed his hoodie, and revealed a simple white button-up shirt underneath. Sleeves rolled to the elbows. Not TAN, not logo. Just a man stripping away the disguise. Come with me, he said. There's something I want to show you. I followed him outside into the chilly night. The streetlights flickered like tired fireflies. He led me to the back of the diner where a sleek black car waited, too nice for anyone except someone like him. He didn't open the door. Instead, he pointed to the alley camera mounted above the dumpster. That's how I knew, he said. I saw the whole thing from the monitors in my car. My eyes widened. You saw everything. He nodded. Every kick, every insult, every time your hands shook. For the first time that night, I didn't feel invisible. Why were you even here? I asked softly. He hesitated, then spoke with a surprising vulnerability. Because I needed a reminder, he said, of what real people go through, of what life looks like beyond boardrooms and signatures. I used to come to places like this when I was younger, before the money, before the noise. You grew up poor, I murmured. He smiled slightly. Let's say I learned the value of humility early. We stood in silence for a moment, the cold air wrapping around us. Then he turned to me again. I want to offer you something, Lila. My stomach tightened. Here it comes, I thought. He's going to transfer me, or demote me, or... Would you consider being an assistant manager at this location? He asked. My breath stopped. What? I whispered. You've been here, what, 2 years? 3, 4, I murmured. Exactly, he said. Loyal, hard-working, you deal with more than you should, and still you show up. You deserve better. I'm not qualified, you are, he said firmly. I watched you for hours before those men came in. You handled customers with patience. You trained the new boy at the counter. You kept the place running while your manager hid in the back. He took a small step toward me, not intimidating, inviting. Let me believe in you, Lila, the way no one else has. My throat closed up. The tears came again, but this time they didn't burn. They healed. And as for those men, he added, voice dropping, my team will handle them. I exhaled a shaky breath. Why are you doing all this? He looked at me for a long moment, really looked. Because when you whispered, I'm already broken, it wasn't just pain, he said softly. It was a cry no one should ignore. Something in me cracked open. Years of exhaustion, years of swallowing hurt. I wiped my eyes. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, he murmured. Just accept the life you deserve. A faint smile touched my lips, hesitant, fragile, but real. Okay, I whispered. I'll try. He nodded. satisfied. Good. We start fresh tomorrow. As he opened the car door, he paused and looked back at me. And Lila. Yes, you're not broken. He said, you're surviving. And soon, you'll start living. My heart felt warm in a way I hadn't felt in years. He drove away, leaving the night quiet again, but no longer empty. For the first time in a long time. I believed tomorrow might be kinder.